With 4 million sounds, what will you create? Take the free trial today.
Hello YouTube, welcome to a new SYNTH Anatomy video here from the Superbooth 20 Home Edition. I'm on the line with Thomas from XOR Electronics. How are you?
Hey, thank you. I'm fine and back from home office in my workspace and yeah, ready to tell you some stuff.
Yeah. Are you healthy? Are you still
yes.
creative? Everything
Yes.
fine?
I'm creative, I'm healthy, but the home office situation is not the best because I'm also homeschooling because the kids are not at school, and then I have to also take care or help with that as well, and that's as easy as just sitting behind the development thing.
You are known for one module, and it's very nerdy. It's the nerd sequence.
Yes.
Can you tell me a bit about your starting point in Eurorack? Because it's something very interesting, because we are now in 2020 for Superbooth. There's a new tracker also from other company. The trackers are back, really back, but you make it already before. Where comes this passion for making tracker devices?
Okay. Actually, I'm making music since now. I would have been my 20th stage anniversary this year, but doesn't happen. And so I made music with trackers like way back in the I think in the 90s, and so making music, making also chip music, but also regular stuff, but always with trackers. And since I'm also a hard and software developer, now I decided, I had like this beer situation with the friends, like, let's make a synth finally, blah 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 blah, and so yeah, that's how it developed, because like, but a synth, it has to be like a little sequencer in there, and then so like, yeah, but the only sequencer is a tracker that we use, and that's how it evolved to be, instead of a synthesizer, to be a tracker sequencer. So yeah.
And so you use probably before or in with Amiga and other trackers, or?
Yes, I'm actually. I never had an Amiga on my own back then. Now I do, but I made music with the Commodore 64, and then I made music a lot with PCs, but then also like with the early trackers. Yes, I have a big home computer collection, and the idea was to make at least one song with every home computer, but that never happened, of course. There are a few. I made songs with Ataris, I made songs with the Commodore, I made songs with the Game Boys and stuff, but not all of them, unfortunately.
What makes for you a tracker so special? Because the workflow of a tracker compared to a sequencer is quite different.
Now, in the end, it's a step sequencer. And I think the most confusing thing for people is because they're used that the timeline goes from left to the right. There, the timeline goes from top to the bottom. But then here it's like you really fill in your music notes, and you don't draw a melody with piano line. You fill in the music notes, and then it looks also magic when it's scrolling down, and you see what happens. So yeah, it's like a special thing, and if you're used to it, and if you're used to the shortcuts and stuff, then it's really fast. So and then it's much nicer than clicking with the mouse, a melody with the mouse. And I think you can compare it with like just think, they're really good apps for like tablets and for smartphones, but mostly touchscreen controlling is not really good. It's not nice. So you need some haptic, you need some knobs, you need some buttons to use, and that's I think it's an equivalence to like a piano line clicking the melody with the mouse, or if that you really like have like one octave of the keyboard, and you scroll down to one bar down, put in the note and stuff. So I think it's more like also a haptic thing to create your songs, and you could say program your songs as well, but that's more like how you see it.
And a customer who is interested in your sequencer, for example, if they have never used a sequencer or tracker, but he absolutely want your module. I think what you said before to me, it needs a bit longer than a traditional sequencer to understand the workflow.
Yes. So I would say if you go to the shop and you see it there, then you probably don't know how to get the first sound out of it. But it's like it takes like 20 minutes, and then you know the basics of it. So that's probably the difference to other sequences where you press play and you press like one of the 16 steps, and there comes a beat or a sound. So that's a bit the difference. So there's one layer which is in the first view complex, but once you get it, you see why it's there, because it's really important, because it's really for arrangement really important. So this one starts with the arrangement actually, and not starts with the patterns where you throw out the melody. It's one button away from this pattern. So it's like, but you have to know that. But then, so I have a lot of customers who never made anything with trackers, and they're really happy. They got the philosophy behind trackers and behind how I implemented it, and they see also the power, what it can do, and you see everything. That's one important thing compared to a lot of sequences, and I love all the other sequences. So I really respect these also, like because they're also good. You can see everything here in one view. You can see like which patterns are playing now, which patterns are playing next. You can see the notes in like 16 notes that are playing at exactly. So that's a bit a different thing. And now the advance of other sequences where you can punch in like the melodies, of dial in the melodies, and it's like if it fits to your workflow, and if you dig that, then it's really powerful.
What I really like on your sequence are the buttons. They are really clicky.
Yes, I think they feel sexy because they have like this. If you put your thumb on there, they have like this. And they're fun because or they're nice. They are old industrial buttons actually, like for industrial machines. Normally, since the 70s, so they're producing them that long. At least it says in the data sheets of these.
And your module is not only a sequencer, right? It's more.
It's a sequencer and it's a sampler, but then sampling is like a side product of it. But then still you can play 4 samples at the same time with 8-bit resolution, and it has very little sample memory. But then a lot of sample effects and stuff, and you can still use it, as add-on. If you really want to go deep with samples, then you probably get a really deep sample module. Like, but then no, it's fine. It's for a lot of tasks. It's really good. And it has oscillators. So the latest firmware, it's also like you can use the sample channels. So it has 2 sample outputs, 2 mono sample outputs, and you can use these also like as oscillators, and you can play 2 oscillators at the same time from one output, and also with different volumes. You can have all the waveforms, all the standard waveforms, and you can hard sync them. You can like a deep pitch one with the other one, and so you can actually create quite a wide sound with that as well.
So it's basically a synth voice, which is included.
Yes, but it doesn't have filters, and it doesn't have envelopes yet, and so not completely synth voice, but already like kind of lo-fi, but still nice oscillators that you probably miss in your setup, and you don't have an HP left for that, and you can use those.
And what means you're sampling? You can load samples, or you can real sampling. You can put in something and then you can sample it and then record it and sample and play it back.
Yeah, there's no sampling actually, because like I have 4 CV inputs, but they're really for CV voltages only, and they are not bipolar. But you can there's a SD card from the front, and you can put WAV files on it, and then you can use these WAV files if they're not too long. You can use them as samples and then play them like an instrument with pitch. Play just the notes of the sample, and yeah. So different samples in the thing. So you can start a note, and then 2 steps further you can start another note from another sample on the same thing. So
I think your sequence is quite powerful. How you can sequence something. It's not just normal playback of notes, but you have also some interesting, more creative features in it.
Yes. Yeah, first, like all the tracks are independent from each other. So you can like play different patterns from different tracks at different times, and even like have like different speeds on different tracks. So you can let them roll off. You do polyrhythmic stuff. You can do like the classic piano phase with it very easily, and even each step of a dedicated track can have a different length. So you can have like 4 steps really fast, and then 6 steps slower, and just as you want. And they can totally go off from each other, but you can also resync them, that they come back together and play synchronized again. So like you're in a live gig and you go crazy at some point with, and then you resync and you're just back. And then there are a lot of per step, a lot of functions that you can apply to the step to for your creativity. And there's a sequencer in the sequencer, so you can have like the normal sequence. The normal steps can also be sequenced, and with this you can create kind of arpeggios and this kind of stuff.
Okay, so, what is known from the chiptune and stuff?
Of course, but I think also in low arpeggios that has been in analog synthesizers and stuff that you just like to make a simple do 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 do. It's also like a kind of arpeggio that you just press one key and it does that.
Does it have also some MIDI effects or so?
Yeah, it has MIDI in and out completely, and per track it can be 4-voice polyphonic with MIDI, and you can do everything. Now, not everything, but all the standard thing MIDI can do. So MIDI notes, pitch bend, program change, MIDI CCs, NRPN messages, and then I have different functions in there like automators, and that's an LFO with different waveforms or noise and stuff, and you can route this again to the for example to the pitch bend, like have an LFO on the pitch bend and this kind of stuff. So that's like they're kind of the MIDI effects.
And what is pretty deep, because you have also some expansion modules for it, so it can even bigger.
Yes. So in the module only, it has like 4 inputs, and it has 12 CV outputs and 6 trigger gate outputs. And so to expand that, I have like expanders, and one is, for example, the CV16 Expander. So it's 16 more outputs. And each output or groups of outputs can be either 0 to 10 or minus plus 5 volt. So it can be bipolar, or like so like not 0 to 10 volts is like for the nodes, and if you have like run an LFO stuff on it, then it makes sense to have it bipolar. So it's like a polyphonic expansion in that case, and you can play polyphonic notes, You can have one expander on different tracks. So an expander doesn't give more tracks, but an expander you can integrate expanders in a track, and you can use them then in a polyphonic way. And the CV16 expander can be music notes, can be pitches, and it has can be LFOs on each output, can be envelopes on each output. And from that, you can have like set up 8 LFOs and 8 envelopes, and you can dedicate them to the outputs and control them from every step again. So yeah.
I see on your website you have a lot of expansion or expanders.
Yes, they're actually like at this point there are 3 expanders, and every expander is in 3 colors because every Euroracker has its own preference of colors. And so yeah, I have 3 expanders. Then I have I don't have it here now. I have it in the rack. The MIDI expander, so it's a MIDI in and output, and like a DIN MIDI standard. It has gamepad input, so you can control it with a Sega gamepad. You can navigate and start-stop patterns and stuff, mostly for live playing. And then for MIDI, it's like a MIDI input, polyphonic. You can record from MIDI. You can record into MIDI tracks. You can record into CV gate tracks. You can use it as a MIDI to CV adapter. And with the CV16 expander, you can have also like a polyphonic playing of a MIDI keyboard, and it plays like the CV notes out there, polyphonic.
And the special input, it comes from your passion with old computers.
Yes, of course. It's my passion, and yeah.
And so you can ability to connect a Sega gamepad.
Yes. I don't have one here right now to show. Oh yeah, I have it here somewhere.
Is it Sega? Which ones? Sega.
The Sega Master System or Sega Genesis. Those ones with the.
So the Mega Drive was in Europe, I think.
I don't know. I don't know right now. If I see them, then I'll say like, okay, it's fine. It's like the 3 buttons and better the 6 buttons versions, because then you have more buttons available. Actually, 6 buttons are not implemented right now.
And you prepared for us something interesting to show.
Yeah.
So a little demo how it works. To give a little idea.
Yes, I can show like let's get. I have also the trigger expander, which is out already since the time, and the CV expander is like quite new, and I can show something about that because all the other stuff is already available online on video and stuff. So I can show something about the CV expander because that's not online yet. Yes. So what I said, like we have like 16 possible CV outputs, and I switch to my rack for that. That's where I'm looking all the time. So you have like you see like 3 outputs here. 3 outputs here are connected to it's the chainsaw. It's like a 3-voice oscillator with 3 polyphonic inputs. And then it's connected to filter and stuff. And I will play it from a MIDI keyboard. So it's at this point it's what it does is like it takes like the notes from the MIDI keyboard, and those are routed to the 3 outputs and routed to actually an envelope, and which is playing the gate for it, and it's this one is going to a real envelope at this point. But then I can play the notes, but I can also record them. So it's like a real-time recording, and you can loop it directly. So you can press record and you play, and loop it, and then you stop record, but it continues playing. So it works like a loop. It adds the notes, and you can also delete the notes while you're playing. So the CV expander can be used for like really polyphonic sequencing if you have multiple oscillators for it. And a chainsaw is a good example of a triple oscillator, what it is. What I also can do, and there I have like another one connected, and it's the pink one, and this is generating an envelope because it can do envelopes. And let's go in there. So you can see there on the right, you can see like the type of envelope. It's a attack sustain release envelope. Let's go there now. Change the release value. Now you see a bit the curve changing. I start it, and then let's see. Let's get some beat. Now do the release a bit longer. So the envelopes are generated from the expander, and I can manipulate them on each step, and I can fire them on each step, and I can progress of the envelope. So I can say like, okay, make it directly attack release, or make it an only attack and then stay at the sustain value, and then on another step you go to the release phase, and you can let it also loop if you want to. So besides envelopes, it can be also LFOs. So you have different LFO waveforms. Let's go to type. No, so sine, square, and noise, a triangle, and then a combination of the different waveforms. So it's some parts of sine, some parts of a triangle. So it switches between the waveforms. So these can have also different speeds, of course, and each waveform of the LFOs can also be modulated on the notes you're playing on this output. It can be alone. So if you want to use the LFO for something external, it makes sense to have it bipolar, for example, and then you just let the LFO flow. But you can also change the offset with it. And if you have in the same step and you have your music notes playing, you can modulate it on these music notes for the local CV, and it puts out the CV note and modulates the LFO on it to get some kind of vibrato and this kind of stuff. So okay. Actually, the oscillators are coming from the sample output. There are two oscillators playing right now at the same time, and they are fine pitch detuned, and so then you can get this like slightly phasing sound. So yeah, it's the envelope, it's a VCA, it's a filter, and it's nearly everything like from the NerdSEQ right now, except for the filter and the VCA. There you can hear also like a slightly the LFO on the MIDI thing, and we can watch there. Let's see which one is activated. So there you can. Let's change it a bit. So it's now I put the LFO a bit stronger in the amplitude.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like one of the MIDI effects. Yeah, that's CV Expander, and then you have 8 different envelopes you can configure, and you can you make it makes not only MIDI polyphonic sequencing possible, but also CV polyphonic sequencing. And then you can also decide if you have 3 oscillators and put them through one filter and have one envelope, all real polyphonic, and you can have 3 nodes, three CV outputs for nodes, and each node has its own envelope. So for real polyphonic stuff, if you have enough filters and enough oscillators for that, that's basically.
That goes really deep.
Yes. I'm sorry.
No. I mean, the sequencer goes really deep. What it can do.
Yeah. It's quite a deep sequencer, and if you have the automators and you combine stuff, because the thing is you can manipulate from each step all the effects, and from the effects you can manipulate each step as well. So it's like a cross modulation to damage everything. So
It's a NerdSEQ. It's a nerd sequencer.
Yes. So normally, since Superbooth was cancelled, I decided to continue developing, and now I have a lot of open ends and with stuff. So all the things that I'm busy right now are not finished. And before we go to the portable, let's get to some other modules that are not finished, but that will come. So normally I would have at least prototypes to show at Superbooth, but now it's showing some stuff. So one thing is the I2C Expander also, and so it has 2 I2C ports. And if you don't know what I2C is, just like MIDI, like an internal connection between gear and some synthesizers and some modules, and have that, and it's mostly known from the monome teletype. But that's what it makes easy. So I have a ER301 here, for example, and this can talk I2C. And instead of have all the patch cables for the drums, like I have now the drums here. I have the drums. Instead of patching all the patch cables, I can just send the commands, and you don't have to patch one patch cable to get the same result. And so some would say, but it's not Eurorack anymore for patching. But then you have all the other 12 inputs free to do other stuff with the ER301. So that makes it interesting again. So because a lot of people, because the ER301 is so big that you can do a lot of stuff with it, and then you need always more inputs, and that's a solution for that. And a lot of other gear is also capable to do stuff and can do more than only voltages. Then, so that one is already a prototype. It's already working, and I just have to finish it. And it has also 2 I2C ports there. So this is a typical I2C port. 2 pin headers with 3 pins. And so the idea is to configure them that you can have also one as an input, and then you can have one fader box, and it's merging the data to put it to a synthesizer or anything. That's one thing. And all the ER301 people are waiting for that. And it will be there. One is 6 CV to a trigger outputs. It's actually the same as the CV16. It can do the envelopes and can do all the stuff, but it has a smaller footprint and has 6 CV outputs and 2 trigger gate outputs then. So it's mostly for 2 polyphonic
Voices. Notes, okay.
Output. Yeah. Then also working prototype, not finished, the DualChord, and this is this one is actually 8 oscillators at the same time, and they're split it in 2 times 4 oscillators. Okay, that's the I2C one again. So then it looks better, and you have the pins. CV16 CV2 trigger. I'm sorry. And the dual chord, and it has like 2 audio outputs, and each can have like 4 oscillators at the same time, and a trigger gate output. So you connect it to a filter, and then you have a voice, a polyphonic voice directly. And of course, it's up to 4 oscillators for each output. And then you can change the waveform, and you can assign the knobs freely to do some stuff. So, and all is integrated. So you put in the music notes in the sequencer in a polyphonic way, and this one is spitting out the oscillators, digital oscillators, but high quality.
Okay.
Then I have the Freestylo, which is not an expander, but it was like my Christmas gift for all the customers, and it's actually a 1 octave CV gate generator, and it's very easy. It's a kind of a stylophone, but then for Eurorack, just play with the patch cable, and then it's generating the CV and the gate. So kind of funny thing. And one last thing I want to show, which is in the making, and that's you probably saw at the last Superbooth that I have like this big video output screen from the NerdSEQ, and that's the video expander. And it's not only video expander; it has also an input for USB keyboard, as in computer keyboard, and then you can sit on your
computer or your screen, before your screen.
Yeah, in front of your TV, because it has HDMI output, and then with your keyboard on your lap, and you can just generate the sequence or make the sequence and stuff. So HDMI, USB keyboard, and that's in the making, and that will be there this year for sure. And it works already, so
Okay.
that's fine. And let's go now to the portable.